I thought she was cute, and I loved talking with her, and I thought, oh, that's all you need. Those are the two ingredients.
I miss you already, and it's only been 1 week, and I'm wishing my heart was stone.
I didn't know what I was in for.
And there was New York City. There's a certain currency to the word New York.
Oh, good question, doctor.
I thought to myself, maybe it's about time I just go by my name and not cloak myself with a band.
Sometimes I try to think of the most ridiculous names I can, and like Marcellus Hall and the Wage Slaves, or Marcellus Hall and the other musicians, or, you know, just really obnoxious stuff. At one point, the word "the hostages" came up, and I threw it out there, and the guys liked it, so. Just coming off of White Hassle, I still had creative juices flowing, and I wrote a bunch of songs, and those became the first solo album. I got this email from this girl one spring. She said she was a fan of my music, writing from California, and I said, I don't recall meeting you. And she said, yeah, you introduced yourself and told me about your band. And then I realized that maybe I had thought she was attractive.
First email came in April one day, signed from a fan.
It went from 0 to 60 in 6 weeks. We eventually started talking on the phone, and she talked about visiting here.
No, he replied, no plans to travel.
I was smitten with the romance that we were conjuring.
How do you know my music and me? Anyway.
We were so far apart. It was ridiculous to really consider a relationship unless certain circumstances could be changed.
The ocean, one lost voice in the sea, one conversation lasting a lifetime.
Then one night she called me and said, oh, I'm going up to Napa Valley. We're driving right now. Nice to hear your voice. And then several days passed, and I got a phone call from this guy saying that he was her boss. And I was like, yeah, how did you get my number? And he's like, well, she told me about you, that she had been in touch with you. And I have some bad news. She's been in a car accident. And that very night she had called me, their car went off the road, and she died.
The first email came in April one day, signed from a fan.
When the recession hit, things changed dramatically. That's when I started doing children's books, actually. I got to illustrate Because You Are My Baby. It was a first step in the world of children's books. And then after that, I went for 8 or 9 years doing a children's book per year. I sometimes feel like kids have answers. A lot of the clutter that we have, that I have, the struggle, can be cut through by children. They see things in a clearer way. Like, I'm wondering, how do you choose a wife? What happens after you die? Things like that. And I feel like if I ask children, they might give me answers that would be more enlightening than an adult. The fact that New York has possibilities everywhere and that I have my antennae alert to them does play into my love life, and probably most people's in New York, but it can be too distracting sometimes.
Do you love that about New York, or do you not?
Yeah, I love that about New York, the endless possibilities. And that doesn't play well into somebody who wants to settle down.
If I could just get the first line, the song would write itself.
I remember thinking to myself, where is that girl gonna park her bike? It would be good if I parked my bike at the same place she parks her bike. And sure enough, she showed up later and parked her bike with mine. That was a sign. She was also the first person in a long time that I felt
definite love, There was something amiss. And I went to a therapist. Therapists always take special note of what you first say when you come in. I said, I feel like I'm a scoundrel. That was the word I used. And he said, why? And I said, because I can't fulfill the role of a boyfriend for this woman who I love. And for whatever reasons,
I'm floating. I'm floating on the surface. I'm floating.
I wanted to settle, but I couldn't. Yeah, I could look at the next album and probably all of the songs related, yeah. The lyrics are goofy, but the yearning to have a soulmate was pronounced. Well, there's a line in that song where I said, I told her before that I was something. Wait, I told her before that I was only her friend, and then I kissed her on the lips, and then I told her again. And I was like, what the fuck, And she was probably like, what the fuck even more.
My friend invited me out to East Hampton for a couple of days.
She said, my friend Lou and his wife Laurie are having a barbecue. I thought, sure, fine, whatever. Just as we're entering the gate, she says, you know who Lou and Laurie are, don't you? And I said, no. And she says, it's Lou Reed and Laurie Anderson. So I'm like, I've got 2 seconds to brace myself. And I walk in, and there they are, sitting at a picnic table, and I was introduced. Laurie Anderson gave me some salad. Lou Reed asked me what kind of music I played, and I said, alternative, blues, folk, post-punk. He said, post-punk? That's death. Later that night, we drove to go meet Jenny's friend Cindy, who turned out to be none other than Cindy Sherman. At one point, I also created a book of drawings that sort of depicted scenes from New York. And I created a character that resembles me, showcasing my obsession and love for the city. That's the genesis of Kaleidoscope City.
Got to move forward, no turning back.
As new illustrators are coming up, taking jobs that I once had, I'm trying to find my way as an illustrator.
This idea of being less relevant, that forces one to make a transition.
Experimenting stylistically. I have joy in my life that comes from observing things. And even streets I've walked down many years.
It's almost come full circle now, because after graduation from art school, I entertained the idea of being a fine artist. And now I'm selling originals of my work.
Now, I feel pretty good.
You have to stick to your intuition and what you love. If you love what you do, then it will show.